started to get doomed. Of course, she had a bigger fan base than characters like Balloony or Spongy at the time, but her fan base couldn't be compared to the two other finalists because their arc was constantly changing. And Bubble hadn't really done anything ever since the season 1 finale. And I think Bubble realized this because she started to get a lot more good with basically everything regarding the show. And it had actually worked. In BFB 20, she was the most voted contestant on her team, which was filled with fan favorites, so she got the indication that she had finally come back up to that fan favorite level. And because of this, she would reveal something about herself that she was never supposed to say. And so that brief history of her past is what brings us to the exact moment she ended her persona of being manipulated and innocent, and that for some reason isn't being spoken about that much in the OSCN. That's because it was one line, with no specific reaction from the other contestants, and it wasn't placed in a key part of the episode. This was Jack and Jellify's way to try and hide it. So, what exactly did she reveal? Well, in BFB 21, when the cast had arrived at Yellowface's warehouse, Bubble tells us that she had ordered a Bubble Transformer in the past. This is important to note, because this comes up quite a lot later on in the video. But what exactly is a Bubble Transformer? Well, the original ad for this unique item aired July 1st, 2010, in the 7th episode of Battle for Dream Island. It was advertised by Yellowface, who stated that this was in fact an item that would transform an object from themselves into a bubble. So, before we move on, we have a couple issues to address. First of all, in the episodes before this commercial, the viewing audience saw Bubble as a bubble, and not some other object, but Bubble did in fact use it to transform herself into a bubble. Then how exactly did she get her hands on this item at least 7 months before it was released to the public? Secondly, if Bubble did in fact buy it while she was a bubble in July 2010, then did she just buy the item and never use it? This wouldn't make sense, because people don't buy things for no reason. Also, in the commercial that released the Transformer, it said that everyone who used it get popped and died. So why did then Bubble die? Why did only specifically the Battle for Dream Island Bubble stay alive? Before you say that she has a recovery center, there's two issues with this. First of all, no recovery center specifically states that it is that specific object's recovery center. It would be like creating a human recovery center. Like sure, we could recover humans, but since the only time a bubble was recovered was when we saw the Battle for Dream Island Bubble die. So a human would be recovered. Secondly, wouldn't the other bubbles who transformed themselves into a bubble be able to be recovered using the recovery centers? This leads us to our theory. Every time Bubble dies, she is a different object that transformed themselves into a bubble. Every time Bubble dies, the bubble that comes as a different object that used the Bubble Transformer on themselves. This is programmed to know how to participate in Battle for Dream Island. When you say this is absolutely crazy, it would make sense. You're meant to think that these characters have been designed to compete in Battle for Dream Island, but they're the only object of their kind. With no fact, given these characters, there is no talk about other objects like or family of any sort, other than two of them's family people. But we already know David is different than everyone else. This is my advanced linguistic. I believe the living point, or just the Battle for Dream Island universe. Only one living object of a specific object's time can exist at a time. Here's why I say that. We've never seen two specific types of the same object exist together in BFBI, but the same species exist together. Then each different object would have at least one difference, allowing this rule to work. Now, I'd just like to clarify something. When I say that only one object can exist at a time of the same species, I'm talking about living, like being able to move around by themselves, having limbs, or being able to speak, not just existing, as we've seen different leads in BFBI as well as Leafy the contestant. So my official theory is that every time Bubble dies, she is a new object that used the Bubble Transformer, but hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Now, I could jump off of my indulgences to Bubble and move on with my day, but instead I want to do something a little bit different. I want to address some potential issues that come with my theory. Some issues have already been acknowledged previously in the video, but because I don't want hordes of angry commenters screaming at me in the comments, let me explain my whole thinking process. The three issues I discussed previously in this video were how Bubble was the same object before the Transformer was available to purchase, how if she did in fact buy it then she must have never used it, and the issue on how this specific BFDI Bubble got recovered every time she died. If we take all of these issues into consideration, then my theory would make sense. But now let's look at the whole purpose of this segment. There are some loopholes within my theory itself, like how many objects use the Bubble Transformer. Is the number what happens if this runs out? What happens if this runs out? But this just roughly makes sense, and more things along those lines. So let me get into it. First of all, let's talk about Bubble specifically. If my theory was indeed true, then wouldn't the other recovery centers output different objects as well? The answer to this is, well, no. Until another Transformer, like the Bubble Transformer, is created by Yellowface or any other object, this cannot happen. This can also answer the next question. What about before the Transformer Transformer was available to purchase for objects around the world, well, we know that Bubble died at least once before the Transformer was created, so it would make sense that the same original Bubble was recovered for that time period. What happens when we run out of new Bubbles to recover? Well, the cycle repeats. The original BFDI Bubble comes back, and everyone is happy. Right? Well, yes, that's how it would work, in theory, since we know that only one Bubble can exist at a time, and that the FBI Bubble has no family. So it would make sense that the only Bubble in existence is recovered for that time period. More than just knowing how to compete. Okay, let's think about the only specific objects compete in the show. Those being wood pieces, leaves, fire, building blocks, and more. For example, we see teardrop instead of water. All of these objects are specific to the competition, and therefore, constantly know how the show works. Announcer coming to these contestants, and starting the show was obviously planned, and all contestants immediately got interested in the prize and kind of reset their whole object in the way. Secondly, Bubbles can hear the competition, and the contestants talking even when they are dead. For proof, in episode 3 of Battle for Dream Island, Madge pops Bubble, and Pencil asks Madge why she killed her. Bubble is recovered after Pencil states this, and responds, and the only way she could have hurt Pencil is if my theory was correct. Using this, all these Bubbles can remain up to date with everything in the competition. Now, I do want to say before anyone in the comments says that I'm saying the FDI is weird for a lot of loopholes in my theory, I could be wrong. I'm admitting that this theory may not be true, and I'm fine with that, but we have no other evidence or anything else that indicates that anything else is the case, so like honestly, what are you gonna do? This next thing that I want to talk about is a lot more hypothetical than anything else that I've discussed in this video. I just want to let you know that this could just be a coincidence, and that it may not actually matter, like at all. With that out of the way, let's start talking about Cloudy, and his relation to this whole story. So, the reason why he's being mentioned at all is because he actually had a Bubble Transformer in his collection along with other products from Yellowface's warehouse. The easy answer to this is that he just bought one from Yellowface, like he has with all of his other products, since he loves to collect things and Cloudy has no wrong intentions. For this V, you see, within Battle for Dream Island, characters have so much room to change their personality and how they act around other characters, but that also comes with the risk of getting eliminated right away. Irrelevant characters get eliminated for being rude, and the nice characters in the sidelines stay until the finals. Another problem is that good-intentioned characters become evil. For example, Leafy. All she wanted to do was help people, but as she was trying to help people, she started to not realize what she was actually putting off into the world, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, that's the basics of the problems with object show characters in general, so this does not excuse the fact that Cloudy could have easily sabotaged Bubble in some way. Another possibility is that Bubble gave the Transformer to Cloudy to keep, since Bubble was too afraid to keep it. But there's not much more that we know about Cloudy and the Transformer, so I guess this will remain a mystery. Before this video ends, there are a couple things I do want to clear up. First of all, this is not a hate video whatsoever, but, in my opinion, is a great character, and I feel like the writers have done a great job on her. What I don't like, though, is how no one's giving her credit for being so mysterious and different from everyone else. Bubble basically faked her entire existence, and no one even realized, which is why I made this video. Other than that, I'm actually kind of really proud of how Bubble was made, and I know in this video I presented everything about Bubble as if she did it herself, but I just want to give a huge thank you to the writers who worked on her. Like I said in the beginning, I'm very surprised and extremely shocked at how people just managed to ignore basically all of Bubble. It's taken me a lot of time to make this video just because I wanted it to have everything and for it to be the highest quality that I can possibly make it. On another note, that was my video of Bubble. For this video, my main purpose was not to discuss or hate on Bubble, Cloudy, Yellowface, or whoever else I talked about in this video, but just the weirdness of Battle for Dream Island. I really like the juxtaposition of she might be faking everything, but she might also just, not be faking anything. I've been putting a lot of time into this video, and I really hope it shows. The main purpose with this series is to show how complicated Battle for Dream Island can be when you take all the jokes, all the satire, and everything into account, and to show how characters can change just so easily, and the viewer, for example, me, way of looking at them can change even easier. The video about Leafy will quite a lot longer, and there will be just a lot more to talk about, because if you know who Leafy is, she's kind of a lot. And the final video about Fiery will be coming, if you will, but I still have a lot to talk about, so be ready for that. All I want to do right now is to close the chapter on Bubble, and give some closing statements about her in this video. I feel like, for so long, we've all watched Bubble not be who she actually is. I feel like this whole time, we've all watched different personas and different mentalities of Bubble get leaked out, and I think it's important to think about her as a character, since she's different, and that's okay. Some people might think that I'm overthinking all of this and that she's not actually that complicated, but I really do think that there's more to Bubble than what we know right now, which I hope we get to know in future episodes, or even seasons. I made this video and I talked about everything that I gathered, and everything that the public actually knows, but I still feel like something's not right with Bubble and Bubble's persona, and everyone in Bubble's life, and I guess you could say it's all Yellowface's fault for making that stupid Transformer that caused this whole mess.
you're watching this video, you probably already know what BFDI is, but if not, I'll give a quick rundown. Battle for Dream Island, or BFDI for short, is an anime element in Dream Island. Every episode, one character gets voted out by the viewers to be eliminated from the competition, and this keeps going until there's only one left. The show has been going on for over 10 years and has gone through 4 seasons, sprouting a semi-large fan-based number of shows with the same concept, like Inanimate Insanity. With the show becoming more developed and the fan base growing larger every day, there's a number of secrets and conspiracies that have cropped up over the years. And in this video, I'll be covering some of them, going from least obscure to most obscure. Before we begin, I'd like to shout out Devin1TR on DeviantArt, as his iceberg inspired me to make this video in the first place, and to Towno for helping me with a lot of the ideas on this iceberg. With that out of the way, let's begin. BFDIA 6. BFDIA 6 is the infamous unfinished 6th episode of the second season of BFDI. It started production in 2013, but was soon put on hold due to the suspension of the channel's AdSense account. The show then went on an almost 4-year hiatus, with almost no word from Michael and Carrie as to what was happening, until it was eventually released, being unfinished and almost completely unanimated, in 2016 with the revival of the channel's AdSense account. Profiler. In the 26th episode of the 4th season, a new character appears in Profiler, claiming they've been in the show the whole time, despite no one noticing them.
What are you talking about? There's 6 of us left. I've been one of the captains forever. Right, guys?
Yeah, Profiler.
Right.
But the theory is, what if they actually were there, but nobody really did see them.
Fight scheduled for 5 5-minute rounds. White trunks for
BFDI series is a number of
black
tough
trunks
lines.
for El
Two of the most notable being
Alistair Overeem, in my opinion, has the best knees in the entire heavyweight division.
Oh, he's rocked here early.
Some people volunteered to redesign the TLC.
Trying to stay out of trouble here.
Oh, look at this! Who saw that
Wow,
coming?
that's a big head kick. He heard him.
Plus 6 people have already.
That's it! He's out! He is out! Wow! What a knockout! Man! Beautiful KO for the victory early in the first.
Time now for our fight replay.
And let's take a look at the replay. This is the shot that drops him. Perfect technique. He's clearly hurt badly here. Let's look at that again.
What should we all do?
Need a more efficient way to
Great angle here.
Jawbreakers. For all this easy force that
Boom!
What is this thing? What do I do with it?
Give me that.
Here's Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Herb Dean is going to stop to this contest at 46 seconds of the very first round. Declaring the winner by